This is an India Today Network exclusive. I'm being joined by David Mencer, spokesperson at the Prime Minister's office in Israel. Thank you so much, David, for joining us here on India Today. Beginning with the situation on the ground, things are turning volatile when it comes to the Israel, not just the Israel-Hamas war, but the Israel-Iran crisis at this point in time. Ismail Haniyeh being killed, but no takers in terms of claiming who actually is responsible for his death. It is a big blow to Iran and in all probability a big win for Israel.
Look, I can't comment on the Haniyeh issue, but what I can tell you is that the Iranian axis of evil, Iran, has formed a stranglehold against Israel. It's a ring of armed terror armies. It's Hezbollah in our north in Lebanon, it's Hamas in Gaza, as you said, but it's also the Houthis in Yemen and other militias. Look, I want to be completely clear here. Israel will exact a heavy price for aggression against our people from any arena. And I mean that our long arm will reach anyone who causes harm to our civilians. Israelis by nature are a peaceful people. We'll always put our arm out firstly for peace. But with Iran, they're a threat to democracy. They hate us because we're a liberal democracy, but they don't only hate us here in Israel. They don't like you much either, because we are one of the smallest democracies in the world, with India being one of the largest. We happen to be in their neighborhood. So they're going for us first, but they're going for other democracies as well. But the elimination of the commanders of the military wing of Hamas and Hezbollah send a very clear message to anyone that threatens Israel. We will defend ourselves.
But what is the message, David, when it comes to the Haniyeh killing? The fact that he's been eliminated, but yet nobody seems to be taking credit for it. Why? He's been considered a terrorist. He's been considered leader of a terrorist organization, also considered one responsible for the October 7th attacks. Why is it then that there is reluctance in taking credit?
So as I said, Geeta, I can't comment on Haniyeh, and I can't even comment on not commenting on it. But what I can tell you is that Mohammed Daif, head of the Hamas military wing, also who we did take out, was directly responsible for the planning and execution of hundreds of deadly terror attacks against Israel, not just on October the 7th. We made a pledge. One of our 3 war aims was to ensure that we destroyed the Gazan military and also their governing strategy. None of Hamas's leaders should think that they are safe wherever they are. The Prime Minister's made very, very clear they are dead men walking. Our citizens will ultimately ensure that any of these criminals and their crimes against humanity, the brutal massacres which they've put upon us, the kidnapping of our civilians, 115 of them still remain in Hamas captivity, the part which they played in the horrific terror attacks on October 7th, these people will be held accountable. No one should be in any doubt of our determination to secure our people and our borders.
Well, okay, no comments on Haniyeh, but again, you spoke about Mohammed Daif, also the attacks on Hezbollah infrastructure and taking out one of the key commanders. All this will certainly invite response from Lebanon, from Yemen, from Iran. How prepared is Israel to take on a multi-pronged war from various quarters and not just from one particular country or one particular area anymore?
Look, no one should be in any doubt of our ability to defend ourselves. You've seen that in many ways already, but there are many things which the world has not seen. The world is talking right now about Iran's potential attack, further attack on this country. But what I think most media are not speaking about, which they should be speaking about, is Israel's ability to defend itself. And believe me, we will defend ourselves. Now, we've developed a coalition headed by the United States of America. Of course, Israel Defense Forces will always take the lion's share of the responsibility of defending ourselves. We've shown that in the past. But our allies in the US, no matter what the day-to-day disagreements may be, with the US, we've stood side by side, shoulder to shoulder for decades now. But other countries as well, they have come together in a coalition to defend this country. Iran should be under no illusion that this country will be defended, and defended, including our offensive capability. We will defend ourselves. Now, look, it's important to understand that we have the capability to defend ourselves in ways which you know about, but also in ways which people don't yet know about.
Well, also, David, there is a lot of international pressure on the Netanyahu government, on the administration, when it comes to the offensive and the actions in Gaza. Is there going to be any change in how Israel is dealing with the situation in Gaza? Too many civilian deaths, too many children have died. And in such a scenario, there is certainly reluctance when it comes to coming out, fully supporting Israel on the offensive in Gaza.
Look, first things first, of course, every civilian casualty is a tragedy. That's been our main key objective, is to ensure that we defeat the Hamas terrorist capability, both militarily and their governing capability. But we've been always very, very keen to move civilians out of harm's way. Look, for months, there has not been a week which has gone by which the world has not told us, here at home, but also abroad, to end this war. They say to us to end this war because they say that we're exhausted, perhaps, or that we've achieved what we can achieve. So it's impossible to win in any case. Look, if we gave in to this pressure, we would not have eliminated the senior Hamas leaders and thousands of terrorists, 17,000 terrorists that we've killed. We would not have destroyed the terrorist infrastructure and the extensive Hamas underground infrastructure that we have. They simply would have kept it. Now, we would not be in control of the Philadelphia corridor and the Rafah crossing. These are the absolute oxygen. These are the oxygen for Hamas, the lifeline for Hamas by which they arm and can rebuild themselves. And we would not have created the conditions that we have right now for bringing us closer to a potential deal that would result in the release of our hostages and allow us to achieve our war objectives. So we've made very, very clear that we have a right to defend ourselves, we have a duty to defend ourselves, and that is precisely what we will do. Geeta, I will remind you, this was not a war we wanted, a war that we asked for, but we as a democracy were attacked. We have a duty to defend ourselves. We consider India as an ally in this battle because you're also a democracy. You also live in a dangerous neighborhood with states which are dedicated to harm you and to, in our case, to actually destroy us. But we are strong and we are united and we are ready for any of the challenges which face us imminently.
Well, David, just one more question on the cost of war, because the cost is a huge civilian casualty. Now, Israel might not want it or might not have wanted it, but at the end of the day, there has to be some responsibility and accountability for civilians who are being killed. Even if you say that terrorist infrastructure has been destroyed and these many number of terrorists have been killed, the collateral damage is just too high to even justify at this point in time. Wouldn't you agree?
Geeta, every civilian casualty is a catastrophe, but let's be absolutely clear. Hamas aren't upset that there have been civilian casualties. They're only upset there have not been more civilian casualties. They would like 10 times more civilian casualties. Now, here are the facts, and it's important, Geeta, because the facts don't lie. You cannot parrot Hamas-controlled figures. It would be like taking the figures of ISIS or Al-Qaeda. This is a genocidal terror organization. It has been their mission, because they can't beat us militarily. We've shown that already. They can't beat us in any way on the battlefield. They choose to embed themselves in the areas where people live. So much so that they want these civilian casualties. Of course, every one of them is a catastrophe, but the facts are absolutely clear. And John Spencer, the head of urban warfare, at West Point has made this crystal clear as well. He's the world expert in this. He said no other country has come even close to the civilian terrorist ratio that we have achieved. It is down to 1 to 1 now. The average for almost every other country in the world is 1 to 8. Okay, 1 terrorist for 8 civilians. We have got that down to 1 to 1, which means we've killed 17,000 terrorists, and unfortunately, probably the similar amount when it comes to civilians. Every one of them is a catastrophe, but this is the way that Hamas has fought against us. This is the dastardly way which they try to win this war, not on the battlefield, but in the media. Therefore, it's incumbent, it's a duty upon journalists to report the truth and to investigate for yourselves. And after this war will end, and we're coming close to the end of this intensive phase of this war, it will become clear that we have set the gold standard when it comes to keeping civilians out of harm's way.
Are we coming to an end of a phase, or is this going to be a prolonged war?
So the Prime Minister's made clear that there were 24 battalions of Hamas. We have shattered all of them now. That doesn't mean that Gaza, Hamas are destroyed. The remnants of those, the fragments, the shards of those battalions have spread out. But we are taking them apart wherever they raise their head. The latest IDF has shown, even in the last 24 hours, that we're taking out terrorists, dozens of them, every day, because it's incumbent for the future of Gaza that we give over Gaza to Gazans, not Gazans that want to see us destroyed, but Gazans that want a better future for their own people, and not only for our people as well. So we're coming to the end of this intensive phase of this war, and we are winning, and we will win, because anyone that stands up against us to kill us, let's be honest, Hamas is a genocidal terror organization that has an ambition to wipe us off the face of the earth with their Iranian backers. We've stopped it from happening. We've seen off their terrorist threat, and we will restore peace back to Gaza for a better future for all of Gazans.
In terms of intelligence, David, is there intelligence on an imminent attack from Iran? And would that be an attack on Israeli territory, or is Iran planning a planned high target assassination?
So I won't be sharing our intelligence with you live on air, but be in no doubt that Israel has every capability, both defensively and offensively. It is no surprise that Iran wish to harm us. In fact, they're the only United Nations member that actually says they wish to wipe off another United Nations member off the face of the earth. They say that about us. Now listen to me, Geeta. Experience has taught the Jewish people that when a genocidal force like the regime in Iran, not the Iranian people, very important to understand, the regime in Iran, when they say things, as we have heard from other dictators in the past, that they wish to wipe all Jewish people, to kill all Jews, to destroy this country, we believe them. We take it seriously, and we're here. The point of Israel, the very essence of Israel, is a homeland for the Jewish people, together with the other people that wish to live here in peace with us, to defend ourselves and to ensure that a genocide against our people cannot happen again. They tried to destroy us on October 7th. Their Iranian proxies are trying ever since, but we know how to defend ourselves, both in ways which you've seen and ways which you have not yet seen.
Just a couple of more questions. I asked you the question on intelligence is because the United States of America has continuously been saying that in the next 48 hours, expect a massive attack from Iran. Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor himself, saying that there could be an attack, which is why I asked you, we don't want details, but is there intelligence of an imminent attack from Iran?
Look, we understand the threat from Iran, and we know precisely how to deal with this, how to deal with it. And believe me, any idea that Iran thinks that they can impose some damage on us will be of nothing compared to the reciprocal damage which will be leveled upon Iran. No one wants an escalation. Let's be absolutely clear about that. No one wants an escalation of this war, but any attack from Iran will be met with an almighty force that the Iranians will live to regret.
We are looking at a lot of backlash from the Arab world also when it comes to Israel and Israel's actions. Has the government engaged with any country in the Arab region to ensure that there is no further escalation?
Geeta, the answer is yes to that question. We have engaged with all of our neighbours, and we do that on a constant basis because it's not only us which they're after. Iran is a genocidal fascist style dictatorship. Their brand of Islam, their distorted brand of Islam, it's a revolutionary brand, which they see the existence of the Jewish people as an anathema to them, and they say they wish to destroy us. But we're only a stopgap on the way to other countries. Other countries, and I won't name them so as not to embarrass them, other countries understand this. Progressive, forward-thinking Arab countries in our region understand this as well, which is why we have built a coalition together with the US, our good friends at the US, to see off this Iranian threat. And believe me, it has come together. We're very grateful for those countries coming together. Of course, it'll be the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, that will defend this country, but we're grateful for our coalition partners in the US and others as well.
What about elections in the United States of America? What's the reading of Israel? There has been immense pressure from Biden administration, but there could be more pressure should there be a Kamala administration vis-a-vis Trump administration. What's your reading? How are you looking at US elections, and how would the results impact Israel and Israel's war against Hamas?
So listen, Geeta, the essence of our relationship, of our friendship with the US has been a bipartisan relationship. The support which we've received from the US has been from both parties. It's very, very important to us. We'll always maintain that bipartisan nature of that relationship. It's sustained us through decades and decades. We've been shoulder to shoulder, side by side. And the reason for that is not only the shared values, we're the only democracy in hundreds of miles in any direction from here in Israel, but also because of shared enemies as well. Iran are after us because we're on their doorstep, but make no mistake, we're only a stopgap on the way to the US, and whoever wins the great democratic race in the US, whoever is successful in taking the White House and becoming the next president, whether it's President Trump or whether it's Vice President Harris, whoever takes that important role will also understands the fact that it's not just Iran that are seeking to destroy us. They call us the small Satan. They call the US the great Satan. We're only a stopgap on the way to them. And I think but most people in the US get that, and certainly the two contenders for the presidency of the US understand that as well.
All right, and expectations from India. India is a very important partner of Israel, but also has been an important historical strategic partner of Iran, and has had very good historical ties with Palestine. In all this, then where do you see India? Because India has put forth its position very strongly when it comes to a two-state solution, and that diplomacy can only be the way forward.
So I'm pleased you asked me that question, Geeta, because India does have a very, very important role. We consider them as an ally. We're maybe the smallest, one of the smallest democracies in the world. You are one of the largest. You also live in a difficult neighborhood, as we do as well. But I tell you, you mentioned Iran. It is incumbent, indeed the duty of India, to put pressure on Iran to get our hostages home. You know, this war could end this afternoon by the time we put our children in bed tonight. If Hamas release our hostages, 115 of them, men, women, and children, and lay down their arms. Now, India could play such an important role with its relationship with Iran to release those hostages. That would be the end of this conflict, a conflict which we don't want, which we want to end as quickly as we can. India could do that. India should do that. If it hasn't been doing that, I'll be surprised if it's not doing that already, because Narendra Modi and our Prime Minister have a very close relationship. All of us here in Israel have a warm place in our hearts for India, and we all remember the scenes of Prime Minister Modi and our Prime Minister frolicking with their trousers rolled up in the Mediterranean together. The government of India understands the threat we're facing, but that role in making sure that Iran lets our hostages go, that would be of supreme importance to us and could revolutionize, could really turn this whole conflict and bring it to an end very, very quickly.
Finally, before I let you go, the question that comes to mind, because you said Iran and hostage negotiations in the same sentence, is Iran in control of hostage negotiations as well? And has the Haniyeh killings really put the entire hostage negotiations into the back burner, or has there been a major setback in the negotiations?
Look, the Prime Minister's made clear that we wish for this latest round of negotiations to be successful. We want our people back. It's absolutely key. It's central to our war aims to bring our people home. So we're doing everything we can. But there's a couple of things which I should make you aware of if you're not already. Firstly, the only way to get Hamas to take these discussions seriously is to put military pressure on them. That's been absolutely clear from the very, very beginning. That's the only reason that they set our hostages free in November last year. That's the only reason which they take this seriously again and again and again. Geeta, it's important to understand it has been Iran it has been Hamas that has walked away from these negotiations. Be in no doubt, Iran controls Hamas. They are their proxy. But specifically on the negotiations for a hostage release deal, Hamas are continuing its refusal, as they have all the way through to reach an agreement. It continues to change clauses in the agreement. It continues to entrench itself in its unreasonable demands. Look, we are prepared to go very, very far to release all of our hostages while maintaining the security of our country. There are many discussions about this in the media, many leaks about these sorts of things. And sadly, they do mislead our dear hostage families, and they create a false impression that Hamas has agreed to a deal while the government of Israel has opposed one. The complete opposite is true. And the people in those discussions know that, and President Biden knows that. The simple truth is that as of now, Hamas have not agreed to the most basic conditions of the outline. We've not added anything, not even a single demand to the outline. It's been Hamas which has demanded to add dozens of changes. It's not withdrawn from its demand that we are not able to continue this war. It demands that we withdraw from the Philadelphia corridor and Rafah, and we cannot allow that to continue. Those are its lifelines. We will not allow it to rearm and rebuild its strength. It's important that you understand these points.
So it doesn't seem like it is going to end anytime soon. Should there be an end in the near or farther future, will Israel accept a two-state solution?
Look, right now, any two-state solution would be a democratic Israel with a potentially a Hamas-run state, which is determined to destroy us. No country would accept that. It would be a reward to the Hamas terrorists. That cannot be the case. Looking to the future, not in the immediate future, but sometime in the future, yes, of course, we want Palestinians to run their own lives, to be in charge of their own destiny, but they cannot have any of the powers to destroy us, because that's what we've seen time and time again. We withdrew from Gaza, every single centimeter of Gaza, and it was turned into an ISIS-style state, terrorist state, aimed at destroying us. We cannot allow that to happen in any part of our neighborhood. We don't need another terrorist supporting state determined to destroy us. So yes, of course, we want Palestinians to run their own lives. At some point in the future, we've got no interest in running their own lives, but they cannot have an opportunity to destroy this country and to attack this country.
David Mencer, thank you so much for joining us here on India Today Global. Thank you.
Good to be with you, Geeta. Thank you.